Well, police have made arrests in a mass shooting at a Scarborough pub back in March. CP24's Beatrice Vaisman joins us live with the details. B.
Maybe in about 5 minutes now, we'll hear from Toronto's Police Chief Myron Demkiw, and we'll also hear from Superintendent Paul McIntyre from the Organized Crime Enforcement Guns and Gangs Task Force. This is going to be an update on what's now been dubbed Project Nighthawk. It relates exactly to what happened back on March 7th at the Piper Arms pub. Just an awful situation that really shook our city. It was one of the worst mass shootings that the city had seen in quite some time, and miraculously, Jamie, no one was killed in that shooting. In total, 12 people were injured. 7 of them had been shot, but all of them, again, survived. 5 others were injured by debris from things like shattered glass and other, items as they were trying to scramble to take cover and get out of the pub. If we can show our viewers the footage that we captured from CP24, that CP24 captured on the Monday after this shooting happened, Jamie, it shows the bullet holes and the sheer carnage that unfolded inside the pub. I mean, there in the wall panels, bullet holes in the door, bullet holes in shattered glass from the windows, the window panes and panels, bullet holes, the TV above the bar. You could tell that dozens of shots had been fired here. And when I looked inside the pub through the front door as well, I could see, things like medical gloves from paramedics and other first responders, and blood on the ground as well. It painted a pretty clear picture as to the awful situation that unfolded in that pub that night, opening night, I should add, of the Piper Arms pub, and speculation since then that this mass shooting was related to the tow truck turf war as well. Again, it's been dubbed Project Nighthawk, and we'll hear from the chief coming up in just a few minutes. Crime analyst Steve Ryan also here with me. Jamie, set to listen in to this press conference. Tell our viewers again, Steve, what specifically will you be listening for?
Well, was this connected to the tow truck industry? That's been the rumors, that's information that I've been hearing second, third hand, and I think that's of key interest to the community. What was the motive behind that shooting? It put an entire community on edge because you've got a public space, you've got a restaurant that was shattered and filled with bullets. You've got people in that restaurant that were ducking for cover, as you said. So perception is reality. And if the community's perception is that the community is not safe, they may not go out and go about their day-to-day lives. So I'd be interested to hear exactly what the charges are and was this tow truck related or not.
When I spoke to a mother in the days after the shooting, her daughter was a bartender that night. She was shot in the arm, and she hasn't been able to regain full, use of her arm. How valuable is it to hear of arrests like this for a family, for the survivors of the shooting that night?
Well, there's no such thing as closure, in my view, regardless if a conviction is registered or not. But what it does for a family, it gives them answers. And a woman like you were just talking about, they are going to spend the rest of their lives struggling to get through what they experienced. But at least the police can provide those families with some answers as to this is what has transpired, and that's why you've got the injury that you've got for the rest of your life.
We've got multiple arrests in this case. We now know these people who were allegedly involved in the shooting that night back on March 7th, involved in other violence across the city. What does that tell you? Well,
it goes to the connectivity of the, I think they're coming in now, that goes to the connections with regards to violent crime throughout the city, throughout the GTA. And this is why I would be very surprised if this wasn't tow truck related. So they're coming in now.
Okay, we're just waiting now, Jamie, for the speakers, including Chief Myron Demkiw, will be making his way up to the podium. I'm just going to duck around the camera here as we make way for the chief and some of the other police officials who are going to be speaking. And I will add one more thing, Jamie. Once we hear about this situation, the arrests with regards to the Piper Arms shooting, our viewers stay tuned after. We'll be getting an update on the city's latest homicide from last night at Varna and Rani as well. The homicide investigator in charge of that case, along with the inspector from the Guns and Gangs Task Force, will be giving us an update on that probe as well. So we're getting a 1-minute warning from police now, Jamie, as we await to hear from this update from investigators. Keep in mind, this is the first update that we're hearing from Toronto Police since the shooting back on March 7th. Yesterday, I was at a summer safety plan press conference with the chief. He was asked for an update on this Piper Arms shooting, and he said an update would be coming very soon. And well, very soon is now today. We'll be hearing from the chief momentarily, Jamie.
Well, thank you very much, Beatrice.
Just a 30-second warning here, Jamie, for our viewers are wondering why there's dead air. 30 seconds now as we'll wait to see.
All right.
Chief Myron Demke.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Toronto Police Headquarters. Today, Toronto Police will announce arrests made in connection with the mass shooting that took place on Friday, March 7th, and a series of other violent incidences that occurred in the spring of 2025. Chief Myron Demke will provide remarks first, followed by Superintendent Paul McIntyre of Organized Crime Enforcement. Detective Sergeant Tiffany Castell from Homicide and Missing Person Unit is also here to address last night's shooting at Lawrence Heights. Inspector Paul Krofchek is also joining us from the Integrated Guns and Gangs Task Force. Chief Demke.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us here today. We're here today to talk about the results of Project Nighthawk, including arrests made in connection to a mass shooting at a pub in Scarborough in March, and other violent incidences that occurred in March and April. But before I begin, I want to address the shooting that occurred in the area of Flemington Road and Zachary Court last night. When officers arrived on scene, they located multiple victims suffering from gunshot wounds. In total, 6 people were shot. One of the victims was pronounced deceased. The investigation continues to evolve as we speak. We are looking for multiple suspects. Detective Sergeant Castell will be providing an update in a moment. This kind of violence causes a lot of pain and anxiety in our communities. We will do everything we can to find those responsible for last night's brazen violence in Lawrence Heights. Please be assured that investigators are working diligently to determine what took place and hold those responsible accountable. Now, I'd like to speak to you about events that took place in March and April and the results of an investigation named Project Nighthawk. The Toronto Police Service has arrested 10 men in connection with a series of violent incidences that occurred across the GTA, and 1 man remains outstanding. These incidents include a mass shooting at a pub in Scarborough on Friday, March 7th, 2025. That night, 3 suspects entered the pub and opened fire inside. 9 people were shot and other people were injured as a result. No one was killed, which is truly a miracle. But the effects of this mass shooting remain devastating for the victims and for the sense of safety in our communities. The indiscriminate nature of this gun violence is hard to comprehend. I'm going to show you the surveillance footage that captures what transpired on March 7th at the pub. And a warning, this footage is graphic and may be disturbing for many to see. In total, for this incident and other incidents, investigators have laid 203 charges against 11 people, including 24 counts of attempt murder. Before I pass it over to Superintendent McIntyre of Organized Crime Enforcement, who will provide further details, I want to thank all of our members who have worked tirelessly on this case. The announcement today is the result of meticulous investigation. It is diligent police work, chasing down leads, knocking on doors, talking to witnesses. I'm incredibly proud of our members for their determination and tenacity to bring dangerous suspects to justice and to prevent further harm. I also want to thank policing partners who provided support, including the Center for Forensic Sciences, Durham Regional Police, Halton Regional Police, Brantford Police Service, and York Regional Police. In these investigations, we were able to help the Brantford Police, Durham Police, and the York Regional Police with some of their outstanding occurrences as well. So, when we think of these investigations, they truly underline the importance of collaboration and this type of work. What you just saw on the video is deeply unsettling. What happened last night in Lawrence Heights is also deeply unsettling. This kind of brazen violence, this disregard for human life, is completely unacceptable. These events underscore the importance of the law reform we've asked for in the past, including law reform concerning shootings in public spaces. Gunfire in our public spaces must be recognized for the harm it causes, not just for those involved directly, but for the bystanders and the public at large. Furthermore, we also continue to support ongoing discussions around bail reform. I have been in contact with the Federal Minister of Public Safety, and I look forward to further discussions with him concerning public safety in Toronto. Members of our service and members of our communities continue to witness the horrific, traumatic, and life-altering impact that gun violence has on our city. This needs to stop. We will continue to do everything we can to take dangerous guns and criminals off our streets. I want to thank all our members who responded swiftly last night in 32 Division and secured the scene and provided first aid. Their efforts absolutely saved lives. And our members in 43 Division and across the service who responded to the mass shooting on March 7th in Scarborough and supported the complex investigations that ensued. And a special thank you to members of Organized Crime Enforcement, the Centralized Shooting Response Team, the Homicide Squad, and all the units that work together in response to these types of incidents. Your work makes an immense difference. Thank you for everything that you do. And I'll now pass it over to Superintendent McIntyre.
Thank you, Chief. Since the night of the mass shooting at the pub on March the 7th, we have not released many details publicly. But as we said in the days and weeks that followed, our officers were working around the clock to gather evidence, speak with witnesses, and follow every lead in what quickly became a very complex investigation. We told the public and the victims that we would share information as soon as we could, and today we are in a position to do that. We've stayed in contact with the victims and their families throughout. Many continue to recover from serious physical and emotional trauma. Some were shot multiple times. One person was shot 6 times and survived. Their strength and resilience has been remarkable. This investigation relied largely on traditional police work, not fingerprints, not DNA, just the determination of investigators to piece together critical information connecting individuals, timelines, and locations to uncover the full scope of what happened. What they uncovered was a network of individuals who are now alleged to be responsible for the mass shooting at the pub, as well as several other violent shootings and a robbery. The details of those incidents are outlined in the news release, but I want to share a few occurrences with you today on video, which will provide a striking visual account of the disregard for human life allegedly displayed by the individuals now under arrest. On March the 4th, 3 of the suspects arrived in a stolen vehicle in the Weston Road and St. Clair Avenue West area. They shot and injured one person who was just walking away from a tow yard. Then, as the video shows, drove to the nearby tow yard and opened fire on a second victim who sustained serious injuries. Here the car turns around, he goes back to shoot again. Here you see somebody crouching down to the front of the vehicle. And he's struck. Later that same night, as shown in this next video, the same suspects drove the stolen vehicle to a gas station in the Lawrence Avenue East and Warden area, where they ambushed a man washing his vehicle, shooting him without warning. And now we'll see that video. In all of these incidents, the victims were seriously injured. In many of the cases, suspects arrived in stolen vehicles, opened fire, and fled. In others, loaded firearms were recovered following arrests made during traffic stops involving stolen vehicles. Each incident was connected and brought investigators one step closer to identifying those responsible. They never stopped working. I want to thank the members of our Integrated Gun and Gang Task Force and our colleagues across the service for their persistence and attention to detail. They worked tirelessly. And because of their work, 11 individuals are now facing a combined 203 charges. One individual remains outstanding, Daquan Joseph, 20 years of age, of Toronto, who we are alleging was involved in 2 of the shootings on March 4th, just shown in these 2 videos. 4 firearms have also been seized to date. This remains an active investigation. Our officers continue to work behind the scenes to ensure everyone involved is held accountable. Thank you, and now I'll pass it over to Detective Sergeant Tiffany Castell to address last night's shooting.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, last night, just after 8:30 p.m., officers responded to reports of a shooting in the area of Rainy Avenue and Varna Drive. It's believed that 3 armed suspects approached a group of people and opened fire before fleeing. 6 people were shot, as the chief spoke about. 5 suffered non-life-threatening injuries, including a 17-year-old youth. Sadly, a 31-year-old male was critically injured and later was pronounced deceased in hospital. This is our city's 13th homicide of this year. The suspects are described at this time as male with a slim to average build, wearing dark clothing, and they had their faces covered. All 3 of them were armed. This remains an active investigation, and we are asking anyone with information or video footage to come forward. That includes dash cam footage. And at this point, I'm happy to take questions about my investigation, and others are happy to take questions about theirs.
The shootings in the previous videos, there's obviously tow truck, tow areas involved. Can you explain any further connection to the tow truck industry?
All but one of the videos which are outlined in the news release are tow truck related, either tow truck employees or tow truck business. The shooting at the pub, at this time, we haven't linked it to any tow truck violence at this point. So yeah, they're all tow truck related. It is part of the tow truck turf wars that we're going on, and we're hoping now that those that we arrested will really make a difference in the number of shootings that we're seeing.
So how is the pub shooting connected to the other?
We don't know if it is. Where it is connected is the group of people that we identified as being part of the tow truck shootings have also done the pub shooting. Whether that was a one-off, the reasons that they did it, we're still investigating that. But the only link right now is the same group of individuals doing all of these shootings. The tow truck ones are obviously related. The only connection we have right now to the pub is the people that we have arrested also did that shooting. We're still looking at reasons why they did that, and that's still a very active investigation.
Have you arrested all 3 people that you believe were responsible for the shooting at the Piper Arms?
Yes.
Those masked suspects are amongst those who've been arrested.
That's correct, yes.
We know that Nighthawk's owner was arrested the next day for allegedly conspiring to commit murder at 3 other businesses. Can you speak to how those are connected, if they are?
Who did you say was arrested the next day?
Yeah, the owner of Piper Arms' nephew, also a
Yeah, that's separate from this investigation right now. I don't really want to speak to that investigation right now, but they are separate. I can say that the shooting at Piper Arms that night relating to these individuals, there's no charges related to that occurrence which you're talking about.
Can you talk about any gang ties, superintendents? Obviously, you're here, not the divisional superintendent, so this is an investigation being led by Jamie. Can you talk about the involvement of these 3 individuals and whether they were known to police in the past, if they have a violent past?
I don't want to talk about their past. I can say, though, that the Gun and Gang Unit, also, it's the Integrated Gun and Gang Task Force. We investigate gangs and we investigate shootings and firearm discharges. Right now, we can't classify these people as a gang. They're not a gang. They're not the definition of a gang. They're just a collective of a bunch of guys that got together and they're doing these shootings. But no, they're certainly not a gang.
Any idea whether they're simply being hired during the shooting?
That's something that we're looking at right now, of course, yeah.
In regards to last night, speaking of the gangs and also being targeted, I can ask you the same thing about that. Do you feel actually this was a targeted shooting and is it gang related?
So what I can say is we do believe that it's targeted. In terms of it being gang-related, we're absolutely investigating every possibility. We're within 24 hours of the shooting having occurred, so we're looking at every avenue.
And I was going to ask you, was the victim in a wheelchair?
He was.
Do we know how many shots were fired last night and how many guns were used?
So there were multiple guns used. I won't speak to the specific number as that forms part of the investigation. Similarly, I won't speak to the specific number of casings that we found, but I can say that there were multiple rounds.
Was
Now, is
the,
this connected to top 5, the rapper who previously accused of murder? There's video on social media circulating of him cutting off his ankle bracelet, and there's speculation that he had some kind of involvement in the shooting last night, homicide last night.
So what I'll say is we're early in the investigation. I can't speak to specifically whether or not he's involved. With regard to the ankle bracelet, Mr. Ali was well within his right to not be wearing that ankle bracelet. He wasn't on any conditions to wear it. So him having cut that off on social media was sort of part of, I guess, his information that he wanted to put out, part of his persona perhaps, but he wasn't actually required to have that bracelet on.
are you concerned about that retaliation?
Pardon me?
Are you concerned about retaliation?
So, I mean, we're always going to be concerned about what could potentially arise from a shooting. As I mentioned, we're investigating every possible avenue. So we're certainly taking precautions across the city to make sure that we have heightened presence in various areas of the city to ensure that we have that increased safety.
Were the 5 people that were probably done by victims?
So what I can say is anyone who's going to be losing their life doesn't deserve to lose their life. So I guess depending on what your definition of innocent is, regardless of what anyone's involved in, they don't deserve to lose their life. So everybody who was involved, and certainly the person who lost their life, did not deserve that last night. I can't speak to who the specific intended targets were. Based on what we're seeing on video, at least the area was targeted, that group of individuals was targeted, but I don't know specifically who in that group was targeted.
Are you looking at Mr. Ali and his associates from the Gun and Gang as potentially being involved? Has, police presence been boosted in the Lawrence Heights area just because it seems like there's been some kind of gang activity that's been, bubbling?
So what I say is I take every single homicide investigation step by step and follow where the evidence goes. Rather than going down a road on a particular person, making assumptions, I'm going with where the evidence is taking me at this point.
I'm sorry, the victim in the wheelchair was not deceased.
That's correct, yes.
Can I just ask about the incidents earlier in the spring again? You're saying this is not a gang, but you have here a group of individuals organized, it seems, carrying out what you're alleging is criminal activity. How is that? Can you just explain how this is not a gang?
Yeah, for a gang to be classified as an actual street gang that we would recognize, there's a whole series of steps that really have to be followed. This is really just a bunch of guys. There are a bunch of guys that are not a gang. They're just friends, if you will. They're associates. They are out there doing these shootings, but they are definitely not a gang. There's no kind of organization to them. There's no emblems. There's no colors or code. There's nothing. They're just young males.
Higher shooters.
That's what we're looking at, yes.
Not 10.
That's correct, yes.
And just in regards to the 4 handguns you have on screen there, plus the assault rifle that's seen in the video in the pub, have all these been seized, and the assault rifle, has that been seized? Where was it from?
Of the 3 guns that you see at the pub shooting, we have 1. The long gun, or the little mini gun, if you will, that's still outstanding. And we have another handgun from that's outstanding. The 4 that we have recovered are from other traffic stops or when we arrested the individuals.
Superintendent, can you talk about, when you say that this is connected to the tow truck, and that you're not, able to correlate a direct link between the Piper Arms shooting and the tow truck, right? Is it the same shooter, the same 3 masked men who were inside Piper Arms, who are also undertaking these shootings connected to the tow truck industry?
What we're alleging is one of the shooters in the Piper's Arms was also one of the shooters in the videos on March the 4th. He is a link between the 2, but we also have evidence that puts a group of them together. If you look at the news release, there's a series of arrests over a couple of weeks, a series of occurrences, and we think it's all the same group of guys that are kind of doing these shootings, and probably for hire.
One more question. Chief, I just want to talk to the chief about, no matter if it's gangs or if it's a tow truck war, this is a lot of violence in Toronto. What do you say to Toronto residents?
Well, listen, we are very laser focused on doing everything we can to prevent and intervene in any cases of gun violence. And when gun violence does happen, we are committing every necessary resource. We will spare no expense. We will leave no stone unturned in our efforts to bring those responsible to justice. And I want to reassure Torontonians that we are laser focused in our efforts to engage with our communities and be there for them in these circumstances, and again, to do everything we can to prevent and intervene as it relates to gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
This concludes our news conference for today. Any additional updates will be posted on our social media channels or news releases. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We've been listening to Toronto Police providing updates on a couple of major investigations. We're learning more information about the Piper Arms pub shooting. This was an investigation dubbed Project Nighthawk. This was the shooting that took place in March at the opening of a new pub. We learned that in total 10 people have been arrested in connection with that shooting. 1 person remains outstanding. In total, 203 charges have been laid against 11 people who are facing 24 counts of attempted murder. 3 suspects entered the pub and opened fire, and we had a chance to actually see some of that surveillance footage, which was incredibly shocking, of the suspects walking into the pub, opening fire. 9 people shot, others were injured, and police are saying that there is a connection to the tow truck wars. But we're also learning more information that they provided an update in regards to the Lawrence Heights mass shooting that took place yesterday. 3 armed suspects shot a total of 6 people. 5 suffered non-life-threatening injuries. 1 victim was pronounced. They're also continue to look for multiple suspects. Police are saying that this is the 13th homicide of the year, and the suspects are described as all male, slim to average build, faces were covered, and all of them were armed.